Two. All right. Thank you all for again attending this week. We're going to get right into it. Our main goal this week is going to go right into our IRS remedies that'll include how to bypass banks. But before I go into this knowledge, I'll first introduce myself. My name is Wallace Lewis Temple Jr., most known as Rock or Rock Rashon Ben Yisrael, if I had to go into my Hebrew name. But for this illustration purpose, you all can just call me Temple, Temple II. So what I'll be going over is the differences between wills and trusts. I'll be going and starting off on this because this may be a confusing topic for a lot of us. So we'll break down a lot of illustrations that I'll be able to show that I've been able to get off through explaining over the years. So it's been over about maybe 5 to 7+ years that I've been able to understand and how to experience how to use these operations or techniques to what they call trusts. So I'm going to simplify it. I'm not going to make it hard or difficult. So let's read right off of here. The first things first, the differences between wills and trusts. First thing, wills are public. They contract with the state and they deal with court paperwork and oversight. They're slow. The executor paid larger commission and no work required after signing. So wills are just simply basic operations that we have day to day. A will is something that, hey, will you do this for me? Can you do this for me? And we expect it to be done. So that is when we're contracting with the state or the government. So anytime it deals with the government, this is what they mean by the state. So it could be the state, it could be the city, it could be the federal. All of them are all considered the Department of State. So the wills are all, if we had to go into a direct definition, are all connected to the Department of State. You can have a trust in your will called a testamentary trust, but the process still goes through probate. So as you can see, that is the whole point of us actually trying to make sure we eloquently understand what's going on with this will versus trust, because everything goes through probate whenever you're not properly connected or set up correct. And that's what we're going to talk about too, is how you have to be properly set up, to make sure that your will and your estate is not going through the state. Okay, 1 second. I see why I couldn't come in. There we go. There we go. Let's put that in. Oh, that's not where we are. All right, so here we go. So I'm back. So let's go to the next part. The next part we're going to talk about is the trust. So this is the one that seems to be very popular nowadays. Everyone is speaking of trust, or it used to be a secret that most people never talked about a trust. But as you can see, trusts are private. The contract is with the grantor and the trustee. No court paperwork or oversight. It's very fast. Your body still may be warm. Trustee paid a smaller commission. Still need to update accounts and beneficiary designations. So the way this has been explained is talking about a trust. If it were going through probate, it wouldn't go through probate, as most people will have their information go through the courthouse. Trustee paid a smaller commission. So the courthouse pretty much is what they mean by probate. So when they say probate, they're talking about the state, they're talking about the courthouse. Now we have different types of trust. This image probably may be blurry. I try to get a better image, but it says revocable versus irrevocable trust. So we got the revocable trust, and you see the differences, and I'll read a little bit or try to get a better diagram. But the revocable trust basically can be changed. The irrevocable trust cannot be changed. That means that it's irrevocable. It can't be, once it starts, it can't be changed. This is a small segment I want you all to read or listen to for this. It's probably gonna be like a 5-10 minute video. I had recorded this a while back, and it's going to tell you about the birth certificates. A lot of the information a lot of people may be more kind of connected to about how the birth certificates are being used as money or being used as bonds. And I'll show you how that is definitely true, but it's not something that you can access as in fiat. So we'll go into how most people try to go and access this through using fiat. And I'll explain, or this video will explain a little bit of what that information is to show you how it is more likely true that your birth certificate does have some type of value system behind it. So let's listen to this video.
Mendel House. And what he had to say, I'm going to just read a quote from Edward Mendel, and what he had to say in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson, president between 1913 and 1921, from the private papers of Woodrow Wilson. Quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivered the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given commercial value, designated to keep us a profit that will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and pledges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest of expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the President as our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if people become enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim that they did not understand the people's claims, especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed pursuant to statutory requirements, requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. I would recommend that everyone read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper, M-E-L-V-I-N, Stamper, S-T-A-M-P-E-R. That is Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. This is out of Chapter 2 of Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. Mendel House. And what he...
All right, so that's just a small excerpt to show you how it is absolutely true that your birth certificates were created. So there can be a bond, and that bond is connected to you at birth. So you were born in bonds. You were born in bonds, right, per se. So what they were trying to get you to, I guess, miss is that since you had a bond, this means that you also have access to funding from your birth, so your birth is a fund. At the end of the day, a lot of us still are looking at it from mystery. That is something that isn't real or not true. But as you can see through this video, they're explaining social credit. They're explaining how if the remedy is used, they're going to deny that they don't understand it, or they call it plausible deniability. So when we go through these trust or private processes, you're not supposed to go in to try to feel as if you're getting affirmation from the clerk or something, or you have to go, or the state is supposed to say, yes, you're good. We have to get over the fact that most of the information, if it's true, you have to make it true and you have to stand on the truth. So as you see right here, this was just another excerpt of what they did. And it was done under Woodrow Wilson. If you don't know these presidents of the United States government, then you would need to learn what was going on in certain policies they had put in play. All right, so another exhibit we have, let's go to this exhibit. So this exhibit is showing you how if you walked into a tax office, how it'll look if you went into a taxpayer assistance center and they help you with any of these so-called services as a taxpayer. So I was showing how it looked for me. So I walked into a taxpayer information center and I realized that they made clear there are certain things that people were doing was either the halfway process or it wasn't the complete process at all. And sometimes when you want to get the answer, you got to go ask them yourself rather than asking a whole bunch of people on the internet or watching videos secretly or whichever. This way, it's not a secret. It's just something that you can find and get guaranteed answers, right? So that's what I did. So this is an example of where I walked into an office. I set an appointment. Let's go to this exhibit before that. I set the appointment right here. So this is the document they give you. Say, hey, I went to talk to the IRS about my 1041 or my 1040 or my taxes. Let's just say anything. Let's say 1099s. So this would be a document that they give you, and you're able to set up a live telephone assistance. You're able to set an appointment. So that's what I did. And I set up an appointment and I was able to walk in and talk to a human face to face and ask questions and see what was going on. Because, at times you'll receive letters that say, oh, it was a frivolous filing or your return was wrong, or these are some more things that we need. So I decided to just go in and talk to them face to face. So this is how it looked for me. So as you see, this was the page I had before, but this page was to show you, if you walked into the IRS office, you'll see they're going to give you documents and papers that you can read through to see what they're saying. And some people may have misunderstanding of what they mean and what they're talking about. As you can see, so this will be the main part that I zoomed into, and I want to take a good picture of this is because this debunks all of that information that people have paid for over the last 20 years or however long people have been learning about this IRS information. So I found out that a W-2 or a 1099 is not an income tax return. So that means that just because you have a 1099 and you turned it in, that doesn't mean that you filed your taxes. That means you just turned in a 1099. So we were having people having issues with, why is my 1099 not working? Why is it not going through per se? So the 1099A, the 1099B, the 1099C, the 1099 OIDs, INTs, miscellaneouses, all of the 1099s, whatever 1099 that you ever had in your entire time, is not an income tax return. So this means that you're also supposed to have done an additional step along with filing your 1099. So as you can see, this is coming straight from the IRS office. They're saying word for word what you should do if you needed more information or you needed to understand issues and ask direct questions. So they're never going to sugarcoat it. They just ask you to talk to them. All right. Stop talking to people who are not the IRS per se. All we do with university technicians, if we were to work, or if I worked at university technicians, we're just simply able to walk you through what the IRS is telling you to do. Like, we're not here to give you a secret option or a different way to do it. We just want you to go through the process the way the IRS has prescribed it and told everyone to do. So sometimes you have a new address and old address. They want to match those documents too. So out of all this, what we have here in this picture is talking about out of all this stuff, what is really going to give you the money, right? So we found out how the money comes is through the U.S. Treasury. So the United States Treasury is giving you the check. And once you get the check from the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. Treasury check is how you're able to dispense and receive those notes, which we call the $100 Federal Reserve notes. So you can't get the $100 Federal Reserve notes unless the U.S. Treasury has approved of you receiving or getting those notes. Now, a lot of people, this kind of goes over our heads because we're still focused on the bank, or we're like, hey, the bank has my money. And the reality is the United States Treasury has your money. The United States Treasury has your money. And they're able to expend and send your money to a bank. So usually the way I have been able to survive or live or just prosper, if one says you're not just surviving, is off of making sure I understood where the money was coming from. So all the money is coming from United States Treasury. All right, so I can't go to McDonald's and say the money's coming from McDonald's. Like McDonald's is going to report their money through a bank, and then the bank is going to report their money that's in their bank to the United States Treasury. So we're finding out how to debunk this whole mindset of cash, right? Federal Reserve notes. This is not the Treasury. This is a whole different entity. So this entity is called the Federal Reserve Bank, which we know the Federal Reserve Bank is a whole different can that we're not going to try to go into today, because you got so many people trying to get to this master account that we're not going to go into because we don't focus on master accounts or accessing that so-called Federal Reserve Bank. We don't want the Federal Reserve Bank. Our goal is to bypass this bank. We don't want to go through a bank, right? They're like the middleman, right? So why would I go through the middleman when I can just go to the source? You know, I'm going to the source and the source is giving me all the answers. And then I need to get the source to go ahead and tell the middleman what's going on. So if I do go to the middleman already set up to a certain way where the Treasury is already communicated with them. So that's how I see the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank, I don't care how big they are, how much cash these people say they got trillions of dollars, millions of dollars, billions. They still are under the subjection and jurisdiction of the United States Treasury. That's right. So it doesn't matter how much money they have, right? This brings them down to the level playing field of everyone else. So if I can access my Treasury, then everyone should be able to access their Treasury too. We just don't think of it. We keep accessing their bank. We keep accessing their credit scores and their credit systems and so on. So this is why it seems like a big old mystery. But we're going to go forward and I'll show more exhibits and illustrations on how this should look if you are accessing directly with the Treasury and not directly with the bank, because we're still getting caught up on trying to go through the bank in some form or some way so that you can get your money. All right, so this is another exhibit. This exhibit is showing and proving what I just said. Even if you trust me or you don't trust me, or you think that what I'm saying is too hard to understand, well, it doesn't matter. It's not my information. It's just me just retelling what they have already said to everyone already, right? So it's just more of like, hey, I released this information, but everyone didn't study it. So therefore, we're just only going to tell you this maybe once or twice. That's the way the banks or the people who are in charge tell you. So for instance, if we were to have people debate the fact that, hey, I hear what you're saying, but then, you know, I still need to get this money. It's no problem. We're just going to show you where the money's coming from. So if we were to do this correctly, the way that we've been teaching it with the trust, And let me try to zoom in right here because this can kind of lose people at times about how the trust is supposed to be used. So let's scroll down right here. All right, so if you're doing this process the way we've prescribed it, which is new, most people probably still have problems with, you know, managing their own affairs or managing their household, whatever it is. It's just, let's just say manage your life. Let's say manage your life. All the money and everything is supposed to go to something called a money pool. So that's what the trust, the way we see it is, this money pool should be your revocable living trust. Right. So now this is starting to make sense. If I show a picture or a diagram, the revocable living trust is receiving all the payments, right? Because this person is the sole proprietor. The premiums or the payments are being paid to the revocable trust. So the revocable living trust is the money pool. That's where all the money's at. Once it's in the name of that revocable living trust or that EIN, which I'll go into some illustrations in a few, once I go through the meat of our discussion about the forms that the IRS prescribes and tells you to fill out. Once it's all in this money pool, which is your revocable living trust, then you're able to give out loans, right? Then you're able to apply and give loans, right here, the mortgages. So you're able to give the loans. You're the lender now. You're able to do the payments of the loans of the credit card. So you're able to create the credit card. And last but not least, you're able to get the cars or the vehicles or the automobiles. Because this is all America's trying to get. The house, the credit card, and the cars. That's it. The cars, the credit cards, and the houses. What else is there to get? So that is all we've been trying, or we're not going to say try. This is all that we have been doing the entire time with our revocable living trust. So as you build your trust, you're able to get to the point you can lend out the funds to secure your mortgage. Your trust can get the treasury check or the funds to create the credit card. Your trust can get the funds or the loan or the secured loan to pay for the car. All right, that starts to make more sense if I'm going directly to the treasury. But if I'm still thinking, which is down here below, I'm going to go ahead and prove this and show this exactly what I'm saying. If your guys is to get these guys secretly anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if you do it, even after you hear what I'm saying, or even if you don't, or you read it on your own, it's still going to go and tell you this never leads you to the Fed bank your money was withdrew from. Right. So every time you go to the bank, that money is being withdrew from your bank. All right. So it says this number leads you to the Fed bank. That number that's on those dollars. So don't get confused when I'm saying that number. What number are you talking about? Well, the number, if you look at your Federal Reserve note again, look at the Federal Reserve note, it'll show you the numbers on the Federal Reserve note. This number leads you to the Fed bank your money was withdrew from. When you, yeah, that's you, when you, I, or me, including myself, authorized the bank or corporation to give you cash. There you go. So every time y'all get cash, I don't care if it's coming from your paycheck or you got direct deposit, or even if you're working and it's so-called honest living, right? That's what we say. Oh, it's an honest living. That's right. It is an honest living because they telling you the truth. They telling you the truth that you authorized them to get your cash from the treasury. And so every time we use them, if we keep going back, it's as if we have authorized and we accepted them to do this for us over and over and over again to get the cash. All right. So those numbers are not there for entertainment. All of the money came from your Federal Reserve bank account. And that's how all this looks each time. So whenever you get all your money, always remember that you can just get your money from the treasury. You can just get your money directly from the treasury. And if you got it directly from the treasury, this will make it a lot easier for you to totally understand why this money pool should be going through your revocable trust. So let's go past this and let's go through some more exhibits and examples. and I'll go right into a situation. So right here, so we see, let's look at this one right here. This is proving why most people are still stuck. And I kept asking, I'm trying to figure out, I don't know why. So if you can't see this exhibit, I'm going to irs.gov, and this is where I'll be going into irs.gov by 6:30 into our forms exhibits. So before applying for an EIN, you should already have determined. There you go. So that means don't come on to irs.gov and asking questions on what do I choose or what do I want to do. Like you can't, do that on the spot. So they expect you to already have determined what type of legal structure, business, or type of organization you are establishing. So the irs.gov is serious. This is a serious portal. This is like, hey, once you do this, the deal is done. Hey, this is who you are. This is what you're going to do. You stick to it. This is the law, right? This is the law. Now, as you can see, they give you multiple choice. It's a multiple choice test. It's like, it's not forcing you that, hey, everybody got to do the same answer. No, it's telling you, hey, you got multiple answers here. So now you need to know what type of entity you should have already done the way the way we are expecting. So that means that most people, they're going to go with the people that they've heard. And most of the time they tell you to go and choose certain things. So for instance, sole proprietor, some people still go and do it anyway. So when we mention sole proprietor, we know people are still going to go the okie doke way and get that EIN number anyway, which is the okie doke. Because the reason we say this the okie doke because you're like creating a double entity because your social is already a sole prop, but then people go out and go get the sole prop EIN and say they know it, they know what's going on now, right? That's the sole prop. That's not the sole prop. It says includes individuals who are in business for themselves and household employers. So that's a whole different entity that we're not even speaking of yet. That's something different. That'll be something later on down the line once someone has established themselves through their trust. Partnerships. We have partnerships, joint ventures. That's a partnership. That could be you got a person that's you partner with. That's your partner. Or you got somebody you're doing business with, one business partner. That's what they call that, a partnership. If you don't got more than one business partner, then you don't have no big business. You just got one business partner. That's a partnership. That's what they call that. Corporations. This means you got a lot of people working with you. You got a corporation. They got an S corp. They got all types of different corporations, real estate corporations, and so on. LLC, the most important one that most people know. It is under the state. So whatever state that you're in, the IRS doesn't care. They will let you get this EIN for free. And then you can build credit on it and all that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to use it unless you organize your business in the state that you are at. So this is where they get you with the okie doke for this too, because it's like, hey, yeah, you're right. You can use the LLC. It can be utilized with all that stuff. But guess what? If it's not registered in the state, then it is an illegal operation because it's a corporation. That's why they say limited liability company, because it's a limited liability. They didn't say that it was unlimited. It's limited. Next, and this is where we get to the good things. You get to the estate. That's where people get scared because they think that you're going to die or somebody's dead, which is true. Some people may have passed on and the estate has been managed and has to be continued to be managed. So the estate is important for some families that have already set that structure and they will allow the estate to continue. So they call that the estate. And last right here for the illustration, we're going to go into the trust. The trust. So for the trust, all types of trusts, including the conservatorships, that means you got a trust that people don't even know what it is. It's like, oh, a trust is a conservatorship. I didn't know that. Next is a custodianship. There you go, a custodianship. Those are trusts. So if somebody says they're looking for custody or custodians or custody, that sounds familiar. Those are trusts. Guardianships. Oh, guardians. Sounds interesting. I heard that word before. Those are trusts. Irrevocable trust. So some people say, what about an irrevocable? Yeah, that's a trust. It's an irrevocable trust. Revocable trust. That's the one that we focus on the most is the revocable, because the revocable living trust is what is proving that you're living. And receiverships. So as you can see, it's very complex to just say trust. So when people out here online and you just hear, hey, put your business in a trust. Hey, start a trust. That's vague. That's not really explaining anything. Like, hey, that's a trust. So obviously we're gonna have to probably read and learn and get some experience and master what we're talking about. So it's not a simple, hey, I got your trust set up. Yeah, because theoretically, if somebody can just grab an EIN off IRS and your trust is set up, theoretically, right? I mean, that's typically, I mean, on the most basic level, yeah, technically. So we're not here to make it hard. We're just trying to make it more understandable because some people are so confused just off of the EIN. They're like, I mean, this is the government's website. This isn't like a company or a corporation. Like, this is straight government. So the government expects everybody to already understand this stuff. And by the time you get here, you should already chose the type of business or setup that you're trying to set up. Because all of these are EINs. That's why it says EIN assistant. It didn't say individual assistance. It doesn't say individual assistance. It don't say you just grab this EIN so you can just live like an individual, right? And we're not here to step on toes. We're just here to make it plain because it never has been intended to be a by myself trust journey. I'm out here just about to do this by myself. It's designed for you to find other people that you can trust. More than one person, because if you got one person on your side all the time, just got one partner, then that's a partnership. That's all that breaks down. This is a partnership right there. I mean, it could be a trust. I mean, some trusts are partnerships, but I mean, that is a type of trust, a partnership, but it's under their corporation. So I'm gonna get off of this page. I just wanted to prove and show you all where that information is coming from. Now let's prove nitty gritty where the document is, how it looks. Here we go. So this is an example of a trust that I was able to get, and I'm going to go right into our main presentation in about 10 minutes. So let me zoom into this, prove to you all how this looks. So this will be an example of, assigning an EIN, right? So once somebody has received this EIN, this is how the document will look. It'll look just like this. And it'll be proven that it's a trust because that's what it says. It says 1041. So we lose people here too because, I mean, obviously we're asking like what's next, because once you choose this and this document prints out, you have the trust. The trust is ready to start using. It's ready for you to start using, right then and there. And then they tell you to identify yourself. This EIN will identify your estate or trust. So it didn't say it will identify my LLC or my partnership or my sole proprietor. It doesn't say that. It says estate or trust. So you want to choose the option that you're dealing with. And the one that we deal with mostly is the trust, the revocable trust, as well as the trust all others. So when filing tax documents, payments, and related correspondence, it is very important that you use your EIN. See, look, the IRS told y'all. I mean, so we're not trying to make it seem like we're making up the words or this is our way or this is what we're saying new. This is what they're saying. The IRS says when filing tax documents can be 1099s. Payments, that means paying bills, paying stuff in the name of the trust, paying with the EIN. And related correspondence, that means stuff that comes in the name of the trust. Correspondence means stuff came in the mail, or you received a letter or an email or whatever, right? Correspondence. So I'm gonna break it down and make it so simple that we can't really say that they didn't tell us right here. It is very important that you use your EIN. So it's very important you use the EIN and stop using your social, because this is really the gateway to the whole point. They're like, hey, it is very important that you stop using your social. Let me say it like that for everybody. And use your EIN. And complete name and address exactly as shown above. Any variation may cause a delay in processing. That's right. So if you don't follow exact instructions and you still have stuff, kind of all over the place, got a little bit over here, got a little bit over there, got some stuff on the table I'm still trying to clean, right? That is going to cause a delay. Right. So if you're trying to use this as a remedy to clean my debt up real quick, this isn't a clean my debt up real quick EIN. This isn't a clean my debt up real quick EIN. This is designed for you to start using as soon as you get it. And you're really starting a whole new slate because this isn't about us trying to go and back into the same stuff that we was already in. It's designed to get us out. So once you want to get out, you get out. You don't go back in. It says, or even it says, any variation may cause a delay in processing, result in incorrect information in your account, or even cause you to be assigned more than one EIN. That's right. So you're getting all these EINs, you're getting more than one EIN. If the information is not correct as shown above, please make the correction using the attached tear-off stub and return it to us. So this is important. So if you need to make corrections or you want to update some things, you got to follow the instructions. They say tear off the stub and return it to us. That means you scroll down here, you look at this stub, or they don't have it on this one in this illustration. But there's a stub down there that the IRS gives you that you can tear off and mail back to them. And this will tell you the year that you need to file your taxes by. And they'll say review. After review of your information, we have determined that you have not filed tax returns for this period as far back as that time. Please file your returns by this date. There is a balance. If there's a balance due on the returns, penalties and interest will continue to accumulate on the due date of the returns until it is filed and paid. If you are not in business or did not hire employees for the tax period in question, please file the return showing you have no liabilities. If you have a question about the forms or the date shown, you can call us at the phone number or write us to the address shown at the top. And that's what we're about. Just want to help people see that the IRS told you all the instructions. They made it clear. They said, hey, make sure you do these instructions. Make sure you follow these exact steps. All right, so let's go to the next one. Next exhibit. I got about 5 to 6 more minutes. Next exhibit is here. Here we go. So this is the exhibit right here for the 9-8 number. So we also have the 9-8. So some people will say, well, I have the 9-8 number. That's true. You can get a 9-8 number. The 9-8 number is designed specifically for anything that's dealing with commerce that you're going to be doing overseas or outside of the United States. So this right here will come from either you will get it printed out or you will get it in the mail. Sometimes people just refer to get it in the mail if you choose to do it that way. It does tell you the 1041. You can also file a 1041, and you will see that it has the same instructions, the same way that a regular trust will have. So if you were to do this, you would put a 9-8 number in the same way you would do a 1041 would be with your 9-8 number. Now, it's not required because some people say, am I required to file a 1041? No, it's not required. It's just if you want to get your payments or you want to use this EIN, it's in your best interest if you use this name and that number to file for a return. So that's what that's for. So this is a 9-8 number just to prove that we also have the 9-8 number theory down as well. So it's nothing mystery to us. We figured it out with the 9-8. We figured out that people were using the 9-8 number wrong. Like you're trying to go to United States banks and get a 9-8 bank account for no reason when you could have just simply got a trust, revocable living trust bank account, and it'll still be proven the same way. So this is what most people have been trying to show and prove through this mystery number system of 9-8 numbers and so on. So let's go to the next exhibit. As you can see, this is another 9-8 number right here. But for illustration, I was able to create a sole proprietor. So as you can see, yes, a sole proprietor can be created. But why would you create a sole proprietor that's a corporation? Why wouldn't you create a sole proprietor that's foreign? That's a foreign corporation or a foreign to the corporation per se, right? So this is why I don't go into the sole proprietor game, because a lot of people get confused when it gets down to the EIN. So the EIN that we expect you to get, if you were to go through this process correctly, the way we expected you to do it, you would then eventually get to the point where your sole proprietor is outside of the United States as well. But like I say, we don't focus on this at this time because it's not necessary once you've mastered the revocable living trust. All right, so this is my last exhibit that I'll go through today, and then I'll go right into our forms that we have listed on the announcement board. So right here, you can see the only way to file correctly is with a TIN, a trust identity number. So if you all have been guided or told to use your name or your social, you have been guided and led astray. You have been guided and led wrong. You don't want to use your social to try to get the other business or the other entity to accept you. They're not going to accept you. They're going to override you. They're going to say, hey, we have fiduciary power. Yes, you've authorized us. We're going to take the credits. We're sorry. Actually, no, we're not sorry. We're just going to tell you that you're not able to take the credits. Only we can. Right. So that's really all that breaks down to if you keep using your social. And I know people still want to fight these people. And I'm like, hey, well, it's fine. Still fight them. I mean, you can fight them. But at the same time, we're just telling you, why not use your revocable living trust? Why not use the trust EIN to do your 1099? So that'll be what my main presentation is about today. I'll be going into this illustrative way to show how all paths before this has led many into fraud or destruction. I mean, anything, the wide path has led many into fraud. This is why people are not getting results. This is why it's taking so long. But if anybody wanted to go any commentary or thoughts, I'll open the mic too also for this because, this is a very, very introductory step or level to the IRS right here, this 1099 A form. Feel free if anybody had any thoughts. All right, no problem. So let's continue. So as you can see, it may work for a while, but eventually you will be way off course. I mean, there's no other way to say this. I mean, it'll work sometimes. Like some people say, well, it went through for me, but they never tell you like 2 or 3 months later that it possibly reversed, or a year later, the IRS sent the letter saying you need to update your return. So we're saying this because we've tried it. We wanted to see why people were doing it, and we actually tried to do this on our own to see how it looked to us. But as soon as we saw it was a mistake, we immediately corrected it, and we checked off that corrected box, or we just resubmitted the documents again, and it went right through. Now, this is very controversial because you'll have a lot of people still teaching this and making it look as if it's working because they're in disbelief that, I mean, it should be simple, right? Why is it so hard if this is the government? It should not be hard. So the lender is always the one that's giving the money. So instantly, if you're an American or you have a Social Security card, that's how they see you as an American. So if you have a Social Security card, you automatically are the lender once you get that money in your hand. Right? This doesn't take rocket science. I don't have to go to college. I don't have to go to school. I don't have to go to training course and none of that. I can show you how to do this in a day or two, maybe a week. So if you're the lender, you're going to fill out this form and you're going to lend the money to whoever's asking for it because that's the borrower. The borrower is the one who's asking for the money. So if the company's asking you for the money, they are the borrower. That's any and all companies, every corporation there is. Like that's I even at times I put the United States of America Incorporated in all they're in. That means all of them. So that's our goal. We want you to bring it down to the most simplest form. Now we're not going to go through this. I'm not going to go over this form, how to fill it out. I just wanted to show you the illustrative journey of how this form works, how it's formulated from the beginning of your IRS journey or your tax journey. Because this, if you don't know how to fill out a 1099-A, then it's going to be extremely hard, or I shouldn't say understand, fill it out. If you don't understand the whole purpose of the 1099-A, it's going to be extremely hard to explain to you how all these other forms work. Uh-oh. So we got a froze stop share right here. All right. So getting out of that right there, let's go into our main presentation. And I'll be pulling up what our announcement board said today. But I'll leave a short segment for you all. If you have any thoughts, just feel free to type in the chat. If you want to type something in the chat, or if you want to say something, feel free. You want to be as interactive as possible with this knowledge. You want to pass this knowledge on to someone you know, and it may save them. It may save them from the going in the wrong direction that they've been going in, even if they have millions and millions of dollars, because millions and millions of dollars can be lost every day. People lose millions of dollars all the time. You know, everyone's life is different. You know, you don't need, some people may not need $1 million. They just may need $300,000 and they're good. Some people may need $3,000 and they're good. You know, so it all depends on the situation of the person. So this isn't a money thing, right? This is more of a comfort. This is more of a how do I feel thing. So let me go to this announcement board and let's share our screen and all the forms that we're going to go through today. Okay, share screen. All right. So our main meat of discussion today is going to be about how to operate directly with the Treasury to bypass banks. So as you can see, my illustrations and my exhibits that I was showing earlier was showing how I was able to operate. And I didn't show you all not a single bank statement, have I? I didn't show you anything about a bank. And I've been able to live just off of this Treasury. And I'm gonna prove this today because really we got to get to the point where we can really feel comfortable that, hey, can I live off just the Treasury? Do I really need to have these banks? Well, do I really got to have these stocks and these certificates and all? And I'm going to prove this today. I'm going to show you how you can literally live just without going through all these businesses, these corporations, and these banks. And how the IRS is giving you the remedy the entire time. They've always had all the free stuff for you. They're your accountant. They actually are paid as your accountant. So you don't need a CPA. All the CPAs, they all turn in their stuff to the IRS. They all turn in their stuff to the CPAs that work for the IRS. I'll say it like that. So you're going to overview the IRS forms, 1099s, Schedule Cs, 982, 56, 2848, 1040s, 1041s, 13909, 3949A, and more. So with all these forms, you should be able to update and reset. You should learn how to update, reset, repair, and restore your social identity. This is guaranteed beyond reasonable doubt in the court of law. No matter what courthouse you go in, you can try and test and prove it on your own. You will learn how to update, reset, repair, and restore your social identity. Because it's your job to restore your social identity. That's right. That social security card that mama gave us when we turned 18. Right. When we turned 18, when we walked out the house, we went ahead and got credit cards. We went ahead and got stuff in our name. We were responsible. Or we got here from another country and we were given our citizenship or a social security card. It's the same thing. It all works the same way. So your social identity is very, very, very important, which we're going to be speaking on in the coming weeks, all the way into the end of the year. So we'll be going through the fall, talking about our social identity and working on our social credit. Next is the employer identities. So the same things that you do for your social identity, you learn how to update, reset, repair, and restore. You're going to learn how to update, reset, repair, and restore your employer identity too. That's right. All your companies, all your businesses, all those things, the LLCs, right? The corporations, all the stuff that closed. You gotta update and reset those things. So if you want to get rid of them, you can dissolve them. Or you can just go ahead and update them, reset them, repair, restore them. And that's your employer identification numbers. And all these are managed by simple forms. And that's why this is so easy, because I had to start thinking like I'm back in middle school or something, not even high school, like middle school. How would I do this? These are forms, you all. Like the whole government is ran off of 8th grade forms. 1099s, Schedule Cs, 982, 56, 2848, 1040s, 1041s, the 13909, 3949-A, and more forms. So the brief introductions and summaries of our recommended forms the IRS expects to be known and used effectively with or without powers of attorneys. There you go. So we got to talk about these attorneys. The IRS don't care if you got a lawyer or an attorney. They don't care if you do or don't. That's the only entity that cares, that don't care. Everybody else cares. They're like, oh, you got to have an attorney. The IRS don't care if you don't have an attorney for some reason. So we knew that you're giving power of attorney over to the IRS, or not to the IRS. You're giving power of attorney over to someone to represent you before the IRS. So they're asking, who are you going to put out here who got your front, your back, your left, your right? Not just your back. We need we need everything. We need your front, your left, your right, and your back. Who do you depend on to that level? That's who they want to know. They want to know who you gonna give all your cash, your money to. As soon as you make that money at the end of the day, who are you willing to give all that cash, that money to? That's what they want to see. They want to see that power of attorney. And we're not talking about the bank either. So don't say it's the bank. No, we're talking about people. This is where it gets hard, because it's like, who do you trust with your cash? Who do you trust with your money and your bank card? Mm-hmm. Well, I trust Scott. I seen his commercial on TV. He's a great lawyer. All right. You trust Scott. You get the whole bank account, all your money. And Scott is sliding that credit card every day. Scot free. Right? This is how serious this is. The IRS expects you to know this. And you have to effectively use these forms with or without attorneys. It's very important that we get to the seriousness of this because you got people that are losing every day, all because of us believing in these attorneys or these lawyers that they can do the job. It's a chance that they may not know and they may not be able to do the job. All right, so that goes into our part again where we just left off. And so if you're just tuning in, you'll be able to go back over this information a little later. I'm not going to go through the rest of this join our course program. I want to go through these forms that we talked about. So let's go through the first form. And as we're seeing right now, we're learning how to operate directly with the Treasury so that you can bypass the banks. All right, this isn't a bad thing. This is a great thing. Right? You know, you want to bypass the banks. You don't want to be trying to wait in the bank. Isn't that how we all lived our life our whole time? We always had to go to the bank. The bank got the money, baby. Uh, sorry the bank said my card got to come in the mail. I can't access my account. The bank. Right. So why are we always dependent on the bank? Right? Why are we always dependent on the bank? Well, I'm gonna show you today how you don't want to depend on the bank, how you want to become the bank. So you can depend on yourself. You can depend on your bank. Your account should be literally little or no money, right? It should be little or no money, or it should be negative. Why does your account have all this cash sitting in your bank? And that's what we're going to talk about today, how you should not be trusting who you think that you trust. You should have more trust in you than you have with these people you don't even know. So that's where these IRS forms are going to come in. And I'm going to show you all today how to master this. I'm only going to spend a little bit of time on each form so we don't have too much time left. Now, once you master this information, you're going to learn that the entire time, all these corporations, all these different advertisements have been just selling you the same stuff that Wallace, university technicians, or even yourself had already known. Because we had already spoken or said to you that, everything is covered. It should be covered through your revocable living trust. So let's go into the irs.gov and I'll go straight into the illustrations of the forms. It's not going to go right here. All right, so right here, so our first form we went over as we spoke of today were the 1099. So let's go to the 1099. Let's go to the 1099. Let's say one of the first ones. Most people know about let's go to the 1099 OID. It's probably one of the fiercest forms. So 1099 INT and the 1099 OID. So all of your 1099 forms, this will be an example of a 1099 original issue discount. So this would be an OID. This form right here would be filled out for the payer and the recipient. So whoever is the payer, the one who's giving the money, once again, is the payer. The recipient is the one who's receiving the money. That's how that looks. That's the original issue discount, the original agreement that you may have signed. So this form is supposed to go with your original agreement. What do we have right here? You got your other one, you got the INT. So every time they say they have interest, or you say you have interest income, well, there's another form, the INT form. So every time there's interest or there's something that deals with interest, a payer. So if you're paying interest per se, a payer of interest, well, who's receiving that interest? There you go. It says it here, the recipient's name, the address, the city who receives the interest. So that's another form that you should know. The IRS expects you to know and you should fill out. What's another form? Let's go to the 1099-C. All right, so you got your 1099-C. 1099-C. This is another form. IRS expects you to know. And this form is cancellation of debt. So that means if you have a debt or if you have a closed account or something that you could never have paid, a 1099-C is issued. Who's the creditor? Who's the debtor? So whatever the situation is, some of us may not feel like we are the creditor and they are the creditor. So either way, let's say you put their information as creditor and yourself as the debtor, there's still a cancellation of debt based upon the amount of debt discharged. So this form, as we can see, will be used that the most mysterious, and let's scroll in here because this is so mysterious to a lot of us when they say discharge your debt. Well, it says it here in box 2, discharge of debt right here. So debt discharged. So this will be the beginning of this debt dischargement that most people have been learning or hearing about. Like only the IRS can discharge the debt. I mean, so how can a mystery private document do this? You know, private documents. We don't need to get caught up in these mystery private documents. Use the forms that are already performed for us. They're already being performed, right? Performed. And you can put any calendar year, whatever that debt that needed to be discharged, so that you can get that debt off your mind. Because a lot of us are caught up in the same debt. We got to get the debt off. We got to get the debt out. It's very important that we see these forms exactly as we should see them. So that's your 1099-C. And I'm going to go to another form that's kind of connected to it, but it's not the same. But this is what will be the thing that pops out of with your taxes once your 1099-C goes through. And this is called the Form 982. You probably have never heard this before in your entire life. But yeah, the Form 982 is the form that shows the 1099-C went through. So in conjunction with the 1099-C, you'll also see Form 982 administered by the Treasury to make sure that the person's name that's there has their debt discharged. All right, so the discharge of debt, once again, is utilized through these basic forms that the IRS has already performed and prescribed for us to fill. All right, so there's no private documents, there's no signature affidavits, there's no placing it on the county record, UCC. See, I'm trying to make sure I'm hitting and striking the facts of how the debt is discharged, right? So you don't have to have a UCC filing. That's right. For the record, this is higher than the UCC. You know, if anything, the UCC is under the jurisdiction of the IRS, the Uniform Commercial Code. And we know the Uniform Commercial Code is the Banking Act. So it's still the bank. We keep getting caught up in that bank. Some way, somehow, that bank keeps popping back up. So we got the 1099-C. What's next? The 1099-B. There we go. We got the 1099-B. And I'm just going through 1099s for now. So as you can see, I'm going in conjunctions with 1099s. So many forms, right? Somebody asked, well, how many steps, Brother Wallace, does it take to do my trust? Okay, I can tell you, but you may feel like, oh my gosh, I will never finish my trust because there are so many forms that you need to know how to perform. And this is another one, 1099-B. Got to have the 1099-B as we see the 1099B is the payer. Once again, so you have the 1099B is the payer and the recipient. So whoever's receiving the money, in our respect, we say whoever's receiving this cash, we do secured cash credit or secured credit cash, whatever way it looks. That's the payer of that secured credit or cash, not unsecured. Let's make sure we say not unsecured, because unsecured is not able to be claimed on a B, because a unsecured is where somebody else secured it for you, which would be the bank. So you can't claim back the credit card that the bank gave you, that people keep trying. That's not how it works. What works is the secured credit card that proves that you placed the money on there and you can claim the money back. That's where the B comes in for the cash. That also works in the same respect with the bank if you had it in the savings account and you did your B before they had I think it's February. They say every February the banks do their 1099Bs. So here you go. There's your 1099B. It's another form. This is the form that you have to the IRS expects you to fill out if you're actually giving out cash. And most of the time, these forms mostly deal with the banks. It could be PayPal, it could be Cash App, it could be the bank. All right. So next, as you know, we got the A. Now we're going to the, oh, if anybody has a thought, feel free to type in the chat. Make sure we all have these questions out there as well. So we're going to go to the A. So next. All right, so this is our 1099A. As you can see, the 1099A, I can easily acquire this document, and it's free. I don't have to go anywhere. I can get this for free. And when I fill this document out, I can fill this out right then and there if I'm ever giving out money. So if a borrower, somebody's asking me for the money, this is why the IRS is expecting us to do this for us and ourselves. I'm the lender. But what we're saying is that you do it with your trust. So in our respect, we say the living revocable, EIN name. There we go. So now I got you exactly what I'm saying, because now you can't just put your social there. The living revocable EIN name, because it clearly says TIN. Even the IRS gave us the clue. They said stop putting your social. The lender's TIN. So what is the TIN? Oh, that's going to be the revocable EIN. So none of this works unless you all figure this out first. This is the first things first. So when people say, what's step one? That's step one. Step one is you have to update and have got through the course of what we've given, or without the course that we've given. You may have figured this out on your own. You want to make sure you're operating through that EIN as what we understand and understand as the revocable trust. That's the lender. That's going to be your lender. The borrower will be any of these other entities or these businesses that's looking to borrow from your trust. And this is in conjunction, even if it's in your social. So let's say, even if it's in my social security number, I'm still going to use the revocable EIN name and the revocable EIN number to communicate with you. So for instance, the borrower can be Um, Bank of America. There we go. Because that's where the money's going at, right? And where's the money coming from? Is it going to your business? I mean, is it going to your builder or is it going to your bank? That's all right. That's really what we have to start thinking. Like, think clearly about this stuff. Where is the money going? The money's going to the bank. It's not going to, per se, the store. You know, you got to keep up gas receipts at the gas station. That's not really where the money's going at. The money's going to your bank. So what bank are you using? Put that name, put the name of your bank. And then we put the name of your bank, put that information there. And that's the borrower. That's where that money's coming from. So the 1099-A is very important as I'm seeing this and showing everyone this is how it looks in real time. So I would literally download this document and turn this in to the bank. You know, they're liable for repayment of the debt, not me. I'm not. Why am I reliable for paying the debt? You know, they're liable for repayment of the debt. That's the bank. So you all are going after the wrong people. You're going after the wrong people, right? Even if it's the loan, even if it's a loan, the underwriter isn't the guy. The servicer company isn't the guy. The bank. Like, what bank is the money coming from? What bank is the loan originating? That's what they say, the originator of the loan. The date of lender's acquisition or knowledge of the abandonment. So I know I just found out I abandoned this money. I just found this out. I didn't know. So I just put the date today. So what is today? 7, 28, 20, 24. So I just figured it out today. So I just put it in right there. That's how simple this is. I don't owe no money. So I'm good. I'm paid up to date. I don't owe no money. Fair market value though. How much money did I give him? That's what I'm more concerned of. How much money did I give you? All right. We'll get to that question about why these aren't answers, because these are our answers that we're supposed to be making to the IRS and showing them what we know. So in my calendar year, I'm doing 2024. This will be the only form I'll fill out just as an example to help people see how this is supposed to look and go. Right. And this isn't it though. You have to do some more work, and this isn't just it. It's part of the work. So the fair market value is I got to add up how much cash was in my bank. So if I don't know how much cash was in my Bank of America, then I don't know the fair market value of the property. This is why we have the banker's course. We have people go through our banker strategy course, because this is part of you having to know how to do all this already. You should already know how to do this. The IRS is expecting you to already know how to do this. So when we ask people to give these answers, hey, we need the answer to number 4. What is the answer, right? Don't ask me for the answer. I'm taking the test too. We both about to fail, and they about to kick us both out. So that's how we have to ask ourselves when we fill out these forms. This is a practice right here. I'm going through a practice situation with you all right now. And all I did was fill out maybe 3 to 4 answers. We don't need the EIN. We're going to just put not applicable. Just to make sure we overcome this EIN thing. Because some people say, well, I don't have the EIN. You don't need the TIN. Who cares? We don't need their TIN. All we need is the name. That's right. That's all we need is their name. The name, their street address, and where they at. I only got 2 more boxes left, and I'm almost done. I'll put the account number. I can put the social, or I can put the TIN number, but it says that that's optional. So I'm going to put not applicable for right now, so that we don't get caught up on that account number. So I got 2 more answers. That's number 4 and number 6. And then I'll have my 1099-A for the borrower filled out, the person who I'm about to give some money to tomorrow. And that's on me, because until I fill out each one of these 1099-As for all these people that I've been giving money to, then that's why the IRS doesn't need, and I'm gonna answer this question now since that question was popped up. Is there a reason why the IRS um will not answer questions about the 1099s? Let me tell you why, because this is so redundant. It's like, why? We can't answer no questions about that. We've been telling y'all about using those 1099s since we started, right? And they made the answers right there as clear as day. It even says it on the side. It says this is important tax information and is being furnished to the IRS. That's right. So they doing the talking for me. This is important tax information, ma'am, and is being furnished to the IRS. If you are required to file a return, a negligence penalty or other sanction may be imposed on you if taxable income results from this transaction and the IRS determines that it has not been reported. Right. So that is your due diligence duty as a trust. You have a trustee responsibility now to perform this form. That's why I'm telling everyone that this is a little bit more than just filling out a document. You are now performing this and reading this to the person. So now they have due knowledge, due understanding. They know what's going on. Hey, this is how much cash that I've been giving y'all all year. This is an important tax information and being furnished to the IRS. Right? Don't do it in secret. Don't hide. That's what they've been teaching us for the last 20 plus years, to be hiding, making it look like you're doing something wrong. The IRS gonna come after you and get you. All this stuff, it doesn't make any sense, right? We're dispelling that. We're dispelling that because that's why stuff is not going through. That's why it's not working. You're not going to have a lot of people because a lot of people have already accepted and believed the lie. Now they're discouraged that this stuff don't work. Like, hey, this stuff don't work. What are you talking about? The IRS doesn't work. It's almost hilarious just to think of it. So the description of the property would be could be secured cash deposits. There you go. There's an answer for the description of property. So secure cash deposits. And I can keep it like that. I can put the account number there too if I want to be more specific. Account 00001. There we go. And I'm finished. I'm done. I mean, once I got the total amount, let's say I'm putting 100. Let's be like put out $100. It don't matter. I need my $100 back. Bank of America. I want my $100. Right? That's what we're saying. Go ahead and put that information in as the borrower. So I spent a lot of time on this A because I knew the A was going to be the entry level to a lot of this. So I wanted to save that as an example. And I'm going to finish off with these last other forms while we have enough time. Keep going through all of these other forms that we have. Go through the screen again one more time. We'll be out of here in just a few. So we got the 1099s that I went over. So I finished all the 1099s. There are more 1099s, don't get me wrong. But for due time and illustration's sake, we got to realize that we got to stick with the basics on the 1099s. If you don't know how to do the A, the B, the C, the OID, the INT, then don't worry about the other ones yet. Let's just focus on what you can right now, and then we'll get to the new ones. So we got next, we have the 982, which I did go over. We went over the 982 for a little bit. So let's go to another form. It's about to get good, y'all. So I'm going to help y'all with your credit. So we about to get into the identity. And I did this I did a program back in 2017 and going into 18. It's called the Predator Program. Predator. We call the predatory lenders or predatory practices. So we called it a Predator Program to stop the predator. Stop the predator. And I'm telling you, we got a lot of good results from that one. That was a really good program that we're gonna reactivate again. So let's go to the next form without further ado. We got 56. So now we get into the big forms, big guys. 56. And this right here debunks a lot of things too when I give out the 56, because the 56 is only used specifically for a trust or an estate. So apologies to all people who have been using it for the social. It is technically not necessarily used for the social. That's only if a corporation is using it. So the corporation fills this out if it's a descendant social number. If you're a trust or you're an EIN, right, or an employer, you would identify as the IRS told you, as I showed you all in my example. And let me show that example again, because I like to always go back to the basics of things that we had already seen. So in the example that I showed with the pictures, just give me a second. Let me see if I can pull those pictures back up. Right, Treasury exhibits. And I was able to show you where the Treasury themselves, they say, this is your identity. You will be identifying yourself right here. This EIN will identify your estate or trust. There you go. That's the one to the third sentence. So on every EIN printout, the third sentence tells you how to identify yourself. So we want to make sure we're following the instructions again, and I'm using the same thing that you all are using too. So we're all equally able to tell if we're following the correct path or we're following the instructions as the IRS has told us and prescribed us to do. There we go. So Form 56 is where you would type that EIN document information. This right here is not applicable. So do not type anything there. That would be not applicable. So we don't want you to be doing things that's not necessary or applicable in a situation that's not applicable. So don't confuse yourself. Just keep it simple. Name of the person will be the name of your EIN, the name on your EIN. So we know now you can't use this Form 56 for the social. For those who have been teaching you to use it for the social, they have mistaken you. Because that's not really where it goes. It goes with the revocable trust or your trust that you create. And that's where you put your social information right here. It would be you right here. So you put your social, your sole proprietor. SSN. So that'll be on the fiduciary's name. So we look at the Form 56 on the fiduciary's name. You want to put sole proprietor, and that's the social. Sole proprietor social name. There we go. Maybe that makes sense. I know it sounds kind of redundant at first, but it's not necessarily the same. So the authority, as you can see, you'll have to have these documents in place for Section A, which we're not going to go through this right now, but you should already know these answers if you have your valid documents in play. Section B, and then you lastly have Section Part 2, and your court that you're dealing with. It could be administrative court, it could be a proceeding that's open right now, it could be something that is closed, regardless of the fact. They're using it for their benefit, whoever the courthouse is. But usually you can't fill out this information because this isn't meant for you to fill out. The fiduciary will be whoever it is that's being assigned to your case. If you have a court case, that's the fiduciary, or it's a bank, right? If it's you and you're filling this out for your estate or your trust, as we said, then you're going to sign down here as the fiduciary. And you would put there here, we actually tell people to put trustee if it's a trust, or executor if it's an estate. Either way, all this information is verbatim, exactly as your EIN document tells you to do. So that's Form 56. Let's keep going. We don't have that much time. Um, Next one is the 2848. So 2848 is another form that we will help walk you through and show you how to master and use this form, because you're gonna be filling out this form multiple times. It's not a one time, hey, I filled that out already and it's over. No, it's gonna be a lot of times you're gonna have to update this stuff. You're not gonna be able to just sit in one time and swipe. Hey, I paid this guy and he did this for me already. It's not gonna work. You're gonna have to do this. Or you're gonna have to learn what the guy did and at least get him to do it again while you're there watching them or something, right? That way you understand, because we got a lot of people that don't want to understand how to do stuff for themselves. And you got to understand the stuff that's dealing with your stuff, which is your social. Now, this one is personal because this one actually deals with your social. Because it says taxpayer identification numbers, that can also be represented as TIN if one is looking at it that way. But we don't look at it that way. We like to say the TIN is the trust identification number. We want you to focus on the trust rather than the taxpayer. Because the taxpayer is going to keep you on the social side as the personal side. So that's what this form is, just to illustrate this eloquently, to show you all that the whole time, everyone who plays attorney for you plays the attorney by filling out this form. And when they fill out this form, they are the attorney for you on your behalf. Now, this works in two ways, whether they be the attorney at the courthouse or they're the attorney by turning in stuff to the bank. And last but not least, turning in things as far as to the IRS. So these are the ways that attorneys are doing things throughout life. They're dealing with the financial realm, or they're dealing with the property realm. Whatever way, it's still financial. That's the social. That's the social. This is the only form that you can do this socially. And you put your representatives, as you can see in line 2. And like I said, I would rather you find out who you trust the most with your money. If you had to put all your life savings in their hand, you said, hey, please have my life savings in your hand. This is where you want to put that name and the address at right there. And we can't tell you the answers. I can't tell you the answers, but I can only walk you through when we do our service session, as we walk you through in live performance. But for illustration purposes, we're not going to be able to tell you the answers to put who you should have as your representative. These are all the acts that you can have done when you do the social, and different things that should be in play when you're able to do these forms. Let's say you did use the social, then this will be the form that'll give you the authorization to actually do the 1099s if you were to use this form and you have the 1099s also. So both are initially needed for the factor of the 1099s. So you're going to need all this stuff at one time. You're going to need both. You're going to need the 2848 and you're going to need the forms if you choose to use the social. As you can see, they give you all these other formats to fill out. And this is a big one right here. So this is why we say you have to take our power of attorney course, because you must attach a copy of any power of attorney that you want to remain in effect. This is where people get thrown off. And what we tell you is you have to take the power back from the state. You have to take the power back from those who you gave power of attorney to, whether knowingly or unknowingly. This is a very powerful form. And it's not a simple fill out form. It's a lot of small things to know and remember with this. This is including your credit reports. So if you want to clear your credit report, this is some of the factors you can use in clearing your credit reports, because you're talking about power of attorney. So I'm not going to stay on this form too long because I'll be talking about this forever. But the last part is the declaration of representative. Very important part to fill out, because it's the only one that's going to allow you to see, they give you all the options, and you can see that you got to choose the correct one. So very important that you understand how this looks. Signature date. And that is your 2848. And the 2848 is declaring, that's anybody in the United States that has a social security card, power of attorney over your social security card. And that's including children, young ones, adults, everyone. So I even myself, I have to declare power of attorney representation over my own children. If I have children or young folks, we don't like to say children, we may say beneficiaries or progeny or heirs. So these are important forms for us to do not only for ourselves, but for others. Next, as we see on the list, I'll try to get through this as much as possible, and I may have to go through this another time because there's more forms. I'm just going through a small list with you all just for now. So we got the Schedule C. I think I went over this multiple times, Schedule C, which we'll look at again. All right, so your Schedule C again is your profit and loss form. That's your most important form for business out here in America. So if you got a Schedule C, we help you with these Schedule Cs by making sure your taxes are updated, as you can see, to a sole proprietor. So this is your update to a sole proprietorship. It is by proving through this form the IRS gives you as a sole proprietor. We also go through this form for the 1041. So not only you'll be using the 1041, which I'll go into a moment, I'll show you a form 1041, and I'll show you a 1040. So the 1040, you'll have a sole proprietorship for, and the 1041, you'll have a sole proprietorship for. So it's a lot of details to this. It's a lot of details. So we don't want you all to think that it's very simple to just, I guess, not practice, right? Practice makes perfect. Make sure you're practicing knowing how to fill this form out. So for instance, you wouldn't put your social on here. This is a EIN. So the social is not placed. You would only put your EIN, right? And that's why at times we may get convoluted because we may not understand or understand how to fill the forms out and master that part. Now, in the event, this may be a social, which may be, in the moment I'll talk about the 1040, you will not fill out this EIN information, and you would only fill out the social. Right? So very important. And most of the time, that proprietor will be your social security card, your social card. So you can't prove you're a proprietor if you can't prove you have a sole proprietorship. And that's what the IRS is asking for. Like, hey, prove to us your sole proprietorship. Yeah. Thank you for showing me that you got that business license. That's cool. That's the state. Show us your sole proprietorship. That's how the IRS thinks of stuff. They're not thinking about how we think about it. They're thinking about how they think about it. And that's what we got to accept and stop thinking that we know. So that's the game. That's the details to the game of how this looks as a proprietor. The social card, and then there will be a time that you're going to have the EIN. So let's get out of this form. We went over that form many times, which is Schedule C. And let's go to another form. Like I said, this can go on and on and on for days because I know that it's not that simple to go through the forms, and we're able to just simply just, figure it out in one day by just filling it out. You gotta know how to do all these forms throughout the year. So we got the 1040, that's another form 1040. As you can see, that's the regular tax return that most people are used to seeing every year. But you got to master your filing status. As they say, what's your status? They always say, what's your status? So either single, married, married filing separately, head of the household, and so on. If you have issues with certain, and I'll give some freebies for child support. If you have issues with child support and you're married, you want to make sure that you do married filing separately until that child support is paid off, or they will take the funds out of your child support, out of the married tax return. Married filing jointly is just perfect if you don't have any issues and you all have one account. That is a partnership, technically. So you don't have to actually have a business partnership if you have married filing jointly. Head of the household is if someone's taking care of a whole bunch of children and they have youth, or they're the head of the house taking care of elders, anyone that's the HOH, head of household. That person has the lease on the name, and they're able to file taxes in the status of the house. So this is a very powerful section that people kind of overlook and don't realize, hey, filing status is the 1040. That's what they're looking at. And as you can see, there's more things on this form. But we're not going to go into the numbers. We just wanted you to see this is for the social. This is only for the social. You cannot use the 1040 for the EIN. Specifically, yes, you cannot use the 1040 and you type the EIN number here where it says your social security number. You cannot type the EIN number there or any other number other than your social. Okay, so the next one is a 1041. Oh, we got some time. We got 8 minutes. Good. Okay, 1041 is another form. As you can see, it's not the same as the 1040. And the 1041 will give you the action clause of the estate or trust. So as you can see the estate or trust has to be typed in here. That is where the estate right there. So it'll be something the state of the name. Let's say state of your name. That will be an example of how to look if it's in the state of your name. So from that point, the estate of your name will allow you to basically get to the point where you can now move to the fiduciary or the executor. So fiduciary in their world, they see as the executor as well. So see, some people say executor, but in the IRS world, they just see that person as a fiduciary. So that's one example, the state of your name. The other example is revocable trust. That's your revocable trust or trust other, and you'll be the name. You'll put that EIN number there. And that is how you get that action clause to happen with the 1041. Because the fastest that you have the 1041 as an attachment, or not an attachment, pretty much as a filing with all of your other attachments, this will update the system with your EIN number. So that's the 1041 and that's the EIN aspect. And our next one we have is 3949A. This is once again another form that most people may see as a yeah, there he goes. It's pretty much an identity theft information referral. So a 3949. So if you find out somebody has messing with your information or your information on business or person you are reporting, this is something about getting your information referral to get your reward. And they will basically go into different things: alleged violation of income tax law, false exemption, false deductions, multiple filings, organized crime. So you see where they put the crimes against you or the charges against you at the courthouse? This is what they're using. They're using this form. They're charging you to charge yourself, just to give you all the real nitty-gritty of how it looks when they put your social in right here. So when they put your social security number in, this is you, somebody's typing this in and they're filling out this form for you. Right? So that information has to be known at times too, that you are, that's where you have the power to do this. And, they understand these forms once you follow the prescribed action on the form. Now, we're not trying to get into police work, this is all could be considered police work. You would then give fiduciary duty over to certain people at a certain point if you feel like it gets to this level, like narcotics income and wagering, gambling on your money, false altered documents, political corruption, failure to withhold tax, failure to file return, failure to pay tax, and so on. But anyway, that is the 3949 form of the violation that you are reporting as an information referral. And you got to write your comments and why you're actually filling out this form. And you have to identify who you are. You have to identify. Sometimes you can do it anonymously. They have certain anonymous ways on certain forms, but the 3949 is a non-anonymous form. We'll get into the identity theft one. That's what I'll be going into our series of weeks, but you can see that's another form. But today we're just talking about 3949A, but this is the one that most people will deal with if you want to clear your credit report, whether it's on Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. All right, so this is the last form for today, and I'll close out with this one. This is the 13909. 13909 is your tax exempt organization complaint. This should cover every organization in the United States that files 501c3 or that receives tax exempt status. So that means that they have the duty to make sure that they're actually giving the funds in certain ways that is going to be according to their mission statement. So at any point that they violate that mission statement or they violate their own policy, it is your duty to actually fill out these forms as a referral. And this is important that you see this way because there'd be times that you'll be waiting on certain things to go through, but you could have made the ball roll a lot faster. And the people's names, they actually put the names of the people involved, organization's titles, the dates, dollar amounts, and so on. So let's go to the second page. Who's going to submit it? You don't want to put your name there, so you can check this box. Is what I was telling you about. I'm concerned that I might face retaliation, so you don't have to put your name there. You can do anonymous reporting if you feel like this is going to be something that needs to get out as soon as possible. This is a very important form for those if you want to deal with your stuff or you need to deal with certain situations. And you can email this to certain locations and or you can fax it. So that's it. This is the end of the forms for today. I will go more into detail of more forms in the future. I just wanted to show you all how important it is to see how we can perform a lot of these tasks as long as we can get our hands on the IRS and we can bypass the banks, we can bypass the courthouses and the attorneys, and we can bypass these organizations and corporations and all these different places, because as long as we sit around waiting on them, time is wasted. Time is money. Your energy being focused on things that are not being productive for you is going to cause you to lose out. So that's my illustration and my presentation for today. I'll be able to get into more information later. If you all want to join University Technicians Beneficiary Member account, this is open for Q&As, unlimited questions and answers on the chat. Our chat has updated to the point where we've been able to expand and get new staff and get new different type of workloads and updated to our system. So visit our website, universitytechnicians.com, and you will be able to see all of our updates that we have so far. But thank you all once again. If you want to get access to some of the payment plans or some of our beneficiary member accounts, you can choose through that here. We also have studies accounts every week or every Saturday. We have an ancient studies. You can do that and you have access to a lot of the knowledge or the videos or subscriptions right here for only $5 every week. If you're trying to learn how to do these 1099s, and you're still having problems with the B working and, like, hey, I just need to do these 1099s consistently. It just says unlimited 1099B, but we're able to go through pretty much multiple 1099s. But the key one that we focus on is the B, because you have to file the B first when it's a trust, and then the other forms are filed after the B. Your beneficiary member plan is only $10 every month. That'll allow you to talk and chat to a tech at any time. You'll be able to, like regular right now. Most people are doing this for free, but the system is now updated. It'll basically ping your account that the way we've been able to chat with you all for the last 3 years has been just a free promotional rate. So you will have to do a beneficiary member plan in order to buy a service. That'll be our next setup for all members. As you can see, there's more plans that you all can look through at your own. If you all want the ultimate package, this is we've only had one member that has done this and they've been able to boost themselves to a very high level, but it's very expensive if one were to do this every month, but we've reduced it down to every 3 months. If you're able to put in this right here, we're able to fulfill all the services for you, everything that includes all of the courses, as well as what you see down here. And the family office, e-commerce creation support, revocable living trust, asset protection support, private banker strategy, credit line support, power of attorney strategy, court, and claim support. So that's what you would pay for if you were to pay for unlimited UT services. Outside of that, thank you all for coming in once again. We have more to go, and we're going to expand more as much as we can. If you have questions, just let us know. Anybody here have any last thoughts, questions, or shares? Feel free to put in the chat or feel free to speak now. All right. Thank you all for the studies for this week. We'll be reconvening back next week. Continue to go to our website, universitytechnicians.com, if you need direct knowledge or studies. Also go to our blog. Our blog does have a lot of information that'll more likely answer a lot of questions, and we'll get all that found for you if you can't find it on this site. Thank you once again. You all have a great, wonderful rest of your week.